let go, let go, let go, let go. E ura si saraye to kuro ishinataka. Taya tria kiro nutro. As the new technology that is coming through to assist with the awakening and ascension and healing of the planet. I started posting light language videos, it was 2018, and no one knew what light language was back then. There were maybe like 10 channelers on the internet. Now there's thousands of people doing light language, and my first thing was like, oh my God, what are people going to think and whatnot? And then I was actually told from higher, they were like, no, the codes will go where they're supposed to go. You're not going to get any yes, I would get a comment here and there, which would be a psychic attack. But other than that, generally, it was like encouragement and people understanding. And the people who were not meant to see it would just literally scroll past it. So it's quite interesting how the vibrational frequency of the information has its own consciousness and goes, where it's meant to go.
That's awesome. That's a great intro to what we're going to talk about today. All right. Yes. Thank you for joining me today. My guest is Althea Lucrezia Avanzo. She's in South Africa. She's a light language channeler and a spiritual coach, among many other modalities and other expertise. And I believe before you had said it's not really a need to get caught up in any labels at this point. There's so many different things that you do and that we are connected to individually and as a collective. But thank you for joining me. We're going to have an interesting discussion on all manners of things today. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful every time I get to, share my voice, share my perception of reality, and share my understanding. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Now that we have the uniform introduction taken care of, now we can be a little more free form in terms of what we discuss and how we go. So light language, I know that you had just mentioned when we were chatting before that you started sharing it around 2018. And I believe I've been following you in certain ways, seeing you come across the streams and the flows for some time now. For those who aren't aware or have never heard of it, what is light language?
So light language would be defined as an expression of the soul. So it can be sung, it can be written, it can be spoken, and it attains to a specific vibrational frequency that works in higher density. So some people can write light language, some people can sing it, some people can speak it. I would essentially define it as the new technology that is coming through to assist with the awakening and ascension and healing of the planet. So that's kind of like the way I would understand and interpret it. It is a means of communication out there on a galactic level as well. We'll speak different dialects and different ways of light language, but everyone kind of has their own imprinting of light language because they have their own soul imprinting, but at the same time the codes that come through are also intelligent. So light language works in fifth dimensional density and up, so the codes can kind of be programmed. So let's say that I speak light language and you are open to receiving, but maybe you don't want to, your system isn't ready to receive it completely in that moment. You will receive the codes when it's best for you, sort of thing. And they can also, when you start working with light language, you understand that they can kind of be programmed and sent in specific areas or to specific people and work in specific ways. So I would say it's just a very, very advanced technology that we are having access to, and we are remembering that we know how to use on a collective level and to assist the planetary frequency as it's rising.
That's amazing. Thank you. I wouldn't have thought of it as a technology. That's a very interesting way to describe it, and it really does make sense the way that you explain it. Yeah. So when did you first come across this light language or get in touch with it or develop it?
So, I've always had psychic intuition since when I was a child. I was one of those kids that would not be able to sleep because she would see shadows in her room. And no one really believed me when I was 6, 7, 8, even 9 or 10 years old. And then I kind of shut it out. And then it was quite funny because when I then, became a professional psychic and I said to my parents, and they were like, oh, we're so sorry. You were actually, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually really seeing this. Now I do it for a living,
That's great.
So I first activated, I went through very extensive healing. I went through quite a lot of karmic cycles and traumatic experiences in my mid-20s. And then I eventually had very intense activations happen on my system. I had about 7 or 8 light language channelers all work on me at the same time in this huge event in the desert back in 2018. And then shortly after that, my channel opened and I started activating. My movements opened first, and then my throat activated about a month or so after that. So I knew about it because I had seen it from friends, but it wasn't really a thing yet online. There were like a few channelers that had been around for a while that spoke about it, but it wasn't really like a thing that was kind of like, very well known. It takes a while to kind of like get into the anchoring and the speaking and the understanding of what comes through. And, the clarity of your channel is directly proportionate to the depths to which you meet yourself. So I had to do a lot of shadow work, a lot of clearing for about a year or so that my channel was open. I was posting videos, but I wasn't working on clients. I was just working on myself, clearing, releasing, and making sure that my vessel, was in a space that I could work from integrity, so that my own traumas and my own things were released, and I was able to kind of like hold space for clients. So that was kind of like my beginning encounter. I'm classically Reiki trained, so I am a Reiki practitioner. So that for sure definitely helped on an energetic level within my system to also understand how energy works and feeling energy and working with the hands and things like that. But you don't have to have like a classical training like a QHHT, a Reiki, a Theta healing, something like that definitely helps if you want to go into like healing or channeling light language, but you don't necessarily have to. Like about 35% of my clients activate in light language, and then it goes through like a process. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like the domino effect. And that's what I noticed as well. In the beginning, I would see different channelers speak, and then I would take on their light language and speak it and anchor it within my system, and then move on. So it's quite interesting how it kind of like expands in the light.
Wow, that's great. Okay, so wow. So one of the questions I was going to ask you about was if you consider it a skill or a gift, and it sounds like there's maybe a bit of both. Somehow that it arrives, but then also requires some development.
Yeah, I would say it's mainly remembered.
Okay.
It's mainly something that's remembered from a soul's perspective. But yes, it takes practice, it takes structure, it takes discipline, like channeling, like everything. If you want to be good at it, you need to practice. Anyone can channel, anyone can be psychic, everyone has a chakra system, everyone has a third eye, so everyone can do it. It's not like I'm special, I just do it more, so I'm better at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But anyone can do it. And it's really important for people to know this, because a lot of people see these channelers and these energy workers and they're like, oh my God, like I could never be able to do that. No, like I work a lot with empowerment, with sovereignty, and I really like to tell people like anyone can do it, but it does require, kind of like structure and discipline. And it's very important nowadays to get guidance from someone who knows what they're doing, because there's a lot of people out there who are opening up in ways that are not even necessarily very ethical, and then they're claiming to go out and healing people and doing energy work, and then they're actually doing more damage than good. And then these people come, they're riddled with cords, they've got attachments, they've got portals open on their backs, and then they come to people like me that then has to kind of like clear them. So it's important to be mindful of what you do, be aware, and yeah, kind of like follow through a process and go to someone that you trust to help you and assist you with your own channeling and your own understanding of what it means to be connected to higher realms or versions of self.
Right. Okay. And one of the questions that came to me as I was doing some research is just curious as to how you see where the light language comes from, where it originates from. As I know you talk a lot about different timelines, different dimensions, and different sort of life systems or times and things like that. And usually if there's a message to some degree, there's a beginning of when it's transmitted and when it's received by someone else. I'm just curious as to if you have a thought geographically or cosmically or any sort of, based in time or anything.
It's a very interesting question. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking that. No one's ever asked that to me. I think it's always been around because it's an expression of the soul. So as long as the soul was around, when the soul divided, well, the soul on individual level divided from source, it probably already anchored a way of expression or communication. So I would presume that it's always been around since souls have been, leaving source and having their own experience, and source has been separating itself. There's been a way of communication. Maybe there was a different name to it at the time,
Right.
maybe it was a different vibrational frequency, perhaps. I mean, it's also so complex when you start to speak about, like the frequencies and how they work in all the dimensions and the realms and the densities, and there's all this terminology as well that comes with it. But I would say, yeah, I mean, what's coming to me is that it's actually always been around. We just, as I said, remembering it now.
Mm. Yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, it seems like there's so much contained within the information that it's not necessarily like a linear sentence or paragraph. And when you're receiving or working with all of these different frequencies and aspects, it would be difficult to really, I mean, diagram like you would the first word in a book or the first word on a page or something like that. It would be much different than that. Yeah, it would correspond, I guess, a lot more to just how a lot of people see time outside of linear time, just having always been in that way. That's very interesting. So I know you had also spoke a bit about remembering situations or connections to the ninth dimensional reality or a 12th dimensional being, different experiences that you remember as a being. Could you talk more about some of those past lives or past connections that you remember?
Okay, so I mainly work with the ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of myself and a 12th dimensional Mantis being version of myself. So these are versions of me that just live in, different timelines and higher dimensions. And I started connecting with them back when I started channeling as well. So they are part of me. They're embodied and integrated within me because I went through the healing process and the shadow work to be able to integrate the soul fragment that is connected to them. So basically, this is what happens to everyone. The more you heal, the more you go through, you do the shadow work, you do your process and whatnot, the more you start integrating parts of soul fragments of self. Like, this doesn't mean that you're not whole, like everyone is whole. But what happens is, through our experiences as a soul, we do go through soul fragmentation. So then as you integrate these parts of self, it's kind of like more of your psychic gifts and intuition start coming online. So you start understanding more, you start having some clairaudience or some clairsentience, or your intuition is super heightened and things like that. So those are the two kind of like main beings that I work with. I do channel beings from all over. It depends also what my clients needs when I'm working with my clients. If they want galactic information, I'll do that. I do Akashic clearing, and I work into kind of like, just for the sake of conversation, past timelines, even, like you said, there is no time, past, present, and future. It's all fluid. But I've had experiences where I've had to clear. Okay. This is quite an interesting one that I'll say. I've had many. So this was about a year ago. I was in very deep meditation, and all of a sudden I find myself in the middle of space looking at this planet. And as I'm looking at this planet, so I'm there in kind of like my human / astral body. So it's still kind of like the size of this body in front of this huge planet. And all of a sudden, this kind of like, I don't know if it was like a meteor or meteorite or something, goes in the planet and destroys the planet. Okay. So it's like a 1 second, and it's like light, and all the souls that were in the planet, I see them leave the bodies, and they all from the planet come into me and come through me. So now I'm here in my astral / human body, and I have to clear on an energetic level the death of a whole planet.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, guys, after this one, I need a holiday. This is kind of like a crazy experience that I had with parallel past, future, present timelines. This is something that obviously happened. I've had to do a lot of clearing. I've lived in Egyptian times as well. I had to do a lot of clearing through my sacral for the divine feminine of the planet as well. I've had lifetimes in Atlantis. I've had lifetimes in Lemuria. I've had lifetimes as a mermaid. I was massacred. I had to go to the actual physical beach where I was massacred and clear it. It was in Mozambique, so here in Africa. Yeah, so I had to clear cleared physically with codes in order to be able to integrate that part of my soul fragment and to clear the space and to clear. It was about 500-600 souls. It wasn't that many that time that I had to clear, like still a lot, but not as many as, you know, what the planet would have been. So that's kind of like how I work and how I've worked through my system. I don't really go in and ask for healing when there's information. It just kind of comes to me. I don't really have any attachment to the story either. I've been told that, yes, it's okay, the story is great, but it's not really the priority. You know, people can also heal and move through things without even necessarily knowing the story. There's a very big culture out there of wanting to know, I want to know what starseed I am, what is this and what is that. And we actually want to move into a space where we release all and any attachment to identity, and we go back to what we really are, which is infinite beings of light, and live in this, you know, frequency of neutrality where we can co-create, you know, from the space of love, joy, happiness, compassion, and whatnot. And I find that sometimes attachment to identity can create division and separation. So I try to like kind of stay away from that. But obviously, like, there are experiences, there's things that happen. We've all had different lifetimes and understandings. So just it's important not to have attachment to them.
Yeah. Most of the times, these conversations and the questions that I get with other people and talk about with others have to do with something like you just mentioned, the starseed, the where did I come from, what's happening, past life, this, multiple realities, alternate realities, etc. And a lot of times, in my own way, I get to that same spot where it's like, well, we're just sort of infinite beings, and the labels and the identities. And then I start to think for myself, well, okay, so what does that mean then? What does that look like? Where do I exist? Can I still have warm chocolate chip cookies? You know, like all of those, right? Like, what are the things that, whatever those human-based limited thoughts are that are still in there, and trying in a way to marry the idea of infinite being of light. Okay, so what's after that? Like, what happens then? Like, where do I get my mail? And that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to figure out, not necessarily to have answers for, but to have conversation about, where those who are connected to a higher source and have a broader spectrum of experience can start to collectively co-create what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we all souls and we choose to come here and to have this human experience, whether we've had, you know, galactic lifetimes or lifetimes in higher dimensions before, matters, but only to a certain extent. You know, we choose to come here and to evolve, and then eventually the goal is to go back to source. So what then happens, for I think it's from 6th dimensional density and up, there starts to be collective consciousnesses, which means that like a lot of souls start merging together, like the Rock Collective or the Christ consciousness, and they kind of make like a bigger consciousness of soul, and so on, until eventually, you know, they merge back into you know, the initial of source consciousness. And I think it's quite interesting because now what we're going through on as a collective is we're going through a memory upgrade. I was speaking about this with a client today, and it's kind of like, if, you know, people who are watching this, you know, they you know, they're starting their awakening, they're in their journey and whatnot, and all of a sudden they feel like they're struggling with their memory and they can't remember what they had for dinner yesterday, and, you know, and things are not clear, but maybe, you know, they can remember like that conversation that they had 3 weeks ago and whatnot. What's happening is, as we evolve and as we, you know, enter, you know, the higher spaces and vibrational frequencies, we start to expand and understand and activate on a memory level, and the actual like human memory cannot really contain the vastness of the information that can come through to us. So we basically expand into something that I like to call the memory cloud. It's almost like there's like an expansive memory like all around us and outside us, and when we want access information, we just recall it and it comes back to us, but we're not holding it all within our brain. Does it make sense? So this is something quite interesting that I've seen happening to a lot of people, and this happening on a collective level. We've entered the lower tiers of 4th dimension positively polarized Earth, which means that right now the 3D and the 4D are kind of overlapping. And this is also why the time is so fluid, and so many people are feeling it so fluid, but also why so many people are waking up, because of the frequency, because it's like they can't ignore it anymore. Like, it's, you know, they need to face whatever it is that they need to face. And there's, you know, disclosures happening on an individual level, on a collective level. Like, there's so much going on everywhere,
Yeah.
that it's almost impossible if you can see a little bit beyond here to not see that something is going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I appreciate that. So you had mentioned about the third and fourth dimensional overlap, and I believe that a lot of people would, I mean, that's kind of a very obvious thing that's happening for some people. Whether they know that that's the definition of it, they might not know what it is or what the term for it is, but it's obvious to see that there's a fluid time, there's shifting of time, little pockets, and then just the way that sleep and the dream world and the overlaps in so many different ways. So if we were to talk about third dimensional reality being mostly what we experience in the human body, fourth dimensional reality mostly being considered the astral realm, the dream realm, and stuff like that, how would you define the fifth dimension?
So the fifth dimensional density is where something is, it has consciousness of being, it can take action, but it's not limited by the constraints of time and space. So time and space are both fluid. Meanwhile, in your 4D, you would have your time being fluid, so you can manifest anything instantly in your dream space, but you still need to walk, move, fly, and go to places. You're still limited by space. In your 3D, you'd be limited by time and space. So that's kind of like what I would say would be the main difference and definition, perhaps on like a physics level or something.
Sure.
I don't have any background in like any physics or quantum physics. My knowledge is being channeled, and it's what I understand, and it's my perception and way of understanding it. But I do think that if you do look up the quantum, what the quantum space is a space where there's no time and space. Everything's fluid.
I mean, I think even Einstein had spoke about the fact that with all the solutions for math, the main thing that math proves is that none of it is actually correct in a way. And how would we think in our human body and our human intellect in this limited vessel that we would be able to gather and fathom and operate with all of infinity? Either how it, like we're going to come up with a solution for everything. And it's just preposterous in my perspective to think that we would be able to, it's a lot of people talk about frequencies and different things like increased intuition or increased hearing or sight or whatever. And a lot of times to me, it seems like trying to plug in a massive generator into a regular outlet that can only handle a certain amount of a small amount of electricity or power, however you want to put it, and you're trying to put in this vast amount of something into this tiny little receptacle. It's just not going to work. Yeah, it's very interesting. That's a good part about being live or not being live.
On Friday, we do twice a month. We do the live with the people from Gaia, so it's like a mass meditation.
Oh yeah.
That we do through Instagram. So we've got one coming. It's every 23rd, and then it's like 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of the month, and then it's the 23rd. It's at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so it's usually 9 p.m. my time, and we do it through Instagram. This time we're gonna have, I think it's like 3 light language channelers and then a few people talking. Last time we had, well, generally Ishmael, like he speaks about it, but he's busy at a conference this weekend with Michaela, which is this other girl who channels as well. So I do those. They called me in like a few months ago, and it's a nice thing. It works collectively. I stream it through my platform, and it's like 300 people here, 500 there. Like we had 10,000 people on the one time.
Wow.
So it's like human resonance. Yeah, it was quite cool. And then I'll do my own lives on and off as well, just where I just go on and I just start clearing for people. So I'll do that as well. So yeah, I actually enjoy doing lives. It's fun.
I was watching a lot of your videos, and it's just like the flow that you have is so wonderful. It just comes out so eloquently and like with the knowledge too. I was like, oh, I had to pause it and like, wow, okay, and then pause it again. It's like so much in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not me, it's my guides. I can't really take that much credit for but yeah, I mean, I guess once you anchor into, you know, like for me, the way I channel is very embodied. Like I work with embodiment, so I'm not a trance channeler. I don't like tap out and something comes in and speaks. Like it's embodied, it's here, I'm present, and I'm very in control of what comes in and out. And what, like, if I've got lives, sometimes I'll have 200 people's higher selves trying to come in and send stuff through. And then I need to be like, actually, no, guys, like, you either take turns or we kind of make it so that it helps on a collective level. And I think that would probably have been like from practice, or I've done this kind of work for many, many, many different lifetimes. So like when I was in ancient Atlantis, I had many lifetimes there. I was there also for the fall. I actually drew it. It was one of my first memories that I had from previous lifetimes. I think it was also back in like 2018 or something. And I remember downloading this information and drawing these like volcanoes exploding and all these machines coming down from the sky and all these people like dying. And I remember crying for about 2 hours as I processed and went through this information. Yeah, it's on my Instagram actually, still the image. I thought about it the other day. I should repost it because I posted it back in 2018 and I only had like, I don't know, maybe like 500 followers back then. Yeah, and when I was living there, I had many different lifetimes, but I had this one lifetime, which is part of what I'm doing here as well, where it was very interesting. I had this kind of like, not studio, but like the space where I kind of like sat and was standing, and then I had this vast openness, and I had 2 different time portals, kind of like wormholes. And what I would do is I would move whole like planets and constellations from one to the other, and then vice versa, or I'll move like whole fleet of ships from one. It was very, very, very interesting. So that's something that I did for a few lifetimes there. But I've been doing collective work and things like that for many lifetimes. So when I started anchoring and embodying this in this lifetime, it came very naturally to me. Like some people are natural, like, dancers or architects,
yeah,
or whatnot. Like
something they probably have done before in a different lifetime, maybe. So you mentioned that a lot of that started or is still connected to your spirit guides. How would you define spirit guides for those who hear that term and have no idea what a spirit guide is?
So it's important to understand that our guides are going through lessons and experiences just like us. They don't want you to put them on a pedestal. They want you to empower yourself. Everyone has a whole ascension team, basically. Everyone has like their own like team of guides, and their job here is to help you. So it's really important for people to have knowledge and call on your guides, like actually speak to them, because there is something that is called the law of non-intervention, which means that unless you call them, they cannot help you. So if you're asking yourself why your guides aren't supporting you, are you asking them to help you? Are you asking them to support you? So this is really, really important, because a lot of people don't know this. So your guides would be your own personal kind of like team. Some of them come and go. Some of them stay for long. Like when I was pregnant, I had 2 that were around me that now aren't around me anymore. So there's kind of like different ones that can come and go. You can also call in different aspects and beings of guides. So like working with spirit animals, working with deities, working with crystals, working with nature, working with the 4 elements. You can choose who you want to work with as well and call them in to come and assist you and help you. Same with galactic beings. Anything that comes and puts themselves above you, it's not what they say they are. So that's how you will also recognize false light and channeling. If something comes to you and says, oh, I am the ascended master of this, that, and that. Oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to do that. That's not what you want to be channeling. You're accessing lower tiers of 4th dimensional density. You don't really want to be channeling that. You want to be, even your guides and things that come through to you, they'll never tell you what to do. They'll never put themselves above you. They might nudge you in like a specific direction or do, but it's really, really important to use discernment when we are connecting and communicating as well.
So what is your spirit animal?
I've got many.
That's good.
I work a lot with foxes, lions, leopards, all the feline beings. I work with turtles. I work with birds. I work with snakes. I work with butterflies.
Wow.
So these are kind of like, I would say, the main ones. That are cats a lot. I've got 2 cats that work with me consistently, like human ones. I mean, physical 3rd dimensional density, like real cats,
Yeah.
That I work with. So that those would be a few, I would say. Yeah. You can choose. Yeah. And your relationship with your guides is something that is personal to you. No one can tell you that it's in a way or in another way. Like every individual has its own understanding of it. And it's really important to understand that your guides will communicate to you in a way that is non-linear. They're not going to come through to you. If you're asking, oh, should I go left or right? You're not going to see a sign that says left. You're going to see a car that is the same color car that your grandfather owned, and he would park it on the left side of the house. And then you'll know you have to go left.
Very interesting.
So this is why it's important to work on deconstructing the programming and unlearning everything that you've been taught, to be in a space of neutrality, so then you can actually see these signs that are being sent to you, whether it's through the elements, through nature, leaves, air, animals, or whatnot. If you're not embodied and anchored, you're going to miss them. So the way to be able to see them and understand them is knowing that they're non-linear, but being present in the now. So it all goes back to grounding in the end.
Right. An increased awareness to be able to, it's basically just a conscious life in that way when you get down to it. Yeah. So you mentioned channeling many, many times. And for those that don't know what that is, what is channeling?
There's different types of channeling. So I also teach channeling. So I can speak for this for the next 3 hours.
Or maybe a brief description.
I'm going to summarize it. So you have different types of channeling. You'll have your assisted channeling, which would be your channeling through tarots, through pendulums, through different tools that you use. Then you would have your unassisted channeling, which would be your channeling like me, that you just connect, tap and speak onto beings. You would have your automatic writing. So there's there's hundreds of different ways to channel. Again, it's up to the individual. I wouldn't say that it's connecting to anything external, because when you look in the grand scheme of things, we are all the same and everything is a part of you. So it's also connecting to another aspect of self, if we want to put it in that way. A lot of the times people struggle with channeling because they see it as something external, but we have all the answers within us anyway. So that's really important to understand as well. So I think, if you would have to define channeling, I think you would say, like different aspects and part of self, getting information, but also at the same time, like it's information that's already within you as well. So it's just accessing, I would say, different parts and aspects of the consciousness, of the collective consciousness, of the individual consciousness, of the planetary consciousness, of the galactic consciousness. There's all these different grids of consciousness that you can have access to and get information. And in the same way, light language and light codes are information. It's information. It's light and it's information.
Right.
So
okay.
Accessing information, I guess.
Okay. One of the things I'm normally fascinated by is what someone like you is most interested in right now. Like, where is the forefront of what you're studying or experiencing or channeling, or whatever sort of is that leading edge? I don't know if there's anything like that for you right now that is really got you like, oh, this is something new that you're experiencing, or anything like that.
Well, I've been working for the past few years on activating the planetary grid. So what I'll do is I'll get sent to specific places in the earth, like physically there. Sometimes I get even sent like 2 or 3 times. I get sent in the astral, I get sent in the physical, I get sent first 1 year and then the year after that. And what I'll do is I'll get sent to spaces, I'll activate either the ley lines, I'll bring in codes, anchor them in the actual structure of the earth. I'll go in, I'll clear like buildings and things like that. So by doing that, then you're activating the ley line of the earth, and you're activating the frequency of that part until it's actually like all activated and lit up. And different people activate different places. Sometimes just by being in a specific space, I'll be activating. Sometimes I get sent to big events. I was doing one in April in the desert, where I go in and I need to clear on a physical level. Maybe there's like 2,000 people, so I'll have to open channel and I'll like bring and take in like all their low vibrational frequency stuff, clear it, transmute it, and send it into the light. So that's the kind of collective work that I do on a physical level in third dimensional density, which I really enjoy doing. It is a little bit more tiring. Sometimes it can be a little
Sounds
more
like
tiring.
it.
But I have a very big team. I've got a very big team of guides that work with me, that come with me, that assist me. Plus, you have to understand that there's also the teams of the people that I am working on that are also helping and assisting, because they also want them to heal. So it's kind of like, if you imagine, kind of like a clearing antenna sort of thing. That's what I do.
Yeah. That's
So
very good.
that's kind of work that I've been doing on a physical level. I'm being sent around in different spaces of the world to do this work as well. So that's very exciting and very interesting, and something that I'm looking forward to keep on doing.
That's very cool. Very cool. I never know what direction people go as they move through their information and their calling, so to speak. I have felt myself a couple times where that I was sent to do alchemical clearing, transmuting the lower vibrations. I don't use light language or light codes like that, at least that I know of. But the exhaustion of it and just seeing this stuff moving through and just like, oh my gosh, and then like, whew, yeah. Not to say that it's
Yeah.
anything like what you have experienced.
No, but I was told a few years ago, I think it was about 3, 4 years ago, I was told by my team, they said to me, you actually need to put on some muscle. They were like, you need to become stronger to be able to withhold the channel and information that we're going to send through to you. So they actually said to me, go to gym and start lifting. Literally,
That's great.
which is very like, you'd be like, this is very 3D, but they're like, no, this is what you need to do because of the level of work that you need to hold, the level of vibration. Like sometimes I'm online and there's like, as I said, like 200 people and I'm clearing for them, and the amount of energy that it runs through my heart. So that's where I work from. It's from the heart center. It runs through the heart. So like I was always quite like, tiny shoulders. I was always like a skinny girl, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. It's not like you don't have to, but put on. So I had to actually work and put on muscle on my shoulders and on my arms to be able to withstand the caliber of energy on a physical level that is being run through me. So yeah, it's
Wow.
quite interesting.
Wow. That's incredible. And so the activation of the planet, what is the overall purpose that you feel like? How would you define that? Or how would you, I mean, as you activate the grids, as you work with the ley lines, what is the end result, or what happens after it becomes activated in your
Well,
perspective?
I think it's important to, appreciate the journey
Mm.
when it comes to especially like ascension and awakening, because everyone, a lot of people are like, oh, we're going to be in 5D. When are we there? When are we reaching it? But we can already be living there. It's just a matter of choice. Your soul can be living in fifth dimensional density, even if you're anchored in the 3D. So it would definitely be bringing us closer to that. I mean, I do see a lot of things happening. I do see like, like a financial wealth redistribution on a collective level, and just kind of like, things more accessible to people like water and things like that. I don't do any like external research. I don't really go and like look for information outside and whatnot. I don't really involve myself in anything that isn't in alignment with, the light language and the energy work and things like that. So I also kind of try to stay away from predictions because there's so many timelines that are changing right now that it's so difficult to say. But there are certain things that we are walking towards, which would be, this kind of like this redistribution, this clarity, also this collective disclosure. So I would say that definitely these ley lines activations will contribute on that, and just generally activating the planet and raising the vibrational frequency. What I've also channeled and seen is that the planet itself is clearing its own karma. So Mother Gaia is clearing its own karma. It's releasing its own lessons and its own understanding. So all these kind of like earthquakes or volcanoes erupting or things like that, she's also doing her own work as well. So it's kind of like a combination, of humanity, our galactic brothers and sisters, and Mother Gaia doing her work too.
That's great. That's great. Okay. There's so many things that you brought up. I'm thinking of all different directions to go. And the differences in all of the directions that you spoke about and that I'm thinking of sort of correspond to that merging timelines, different timelines you mentioned a couple times. Can you speak more about what people could think of in terms of different timelines or merging timelines?
Imagine, like, I'm going to explain this on an individual level just because it's easier for people to
Sure.
understand on a personal level. So let's say that you want to align with a timeline where you are abundant and you are prosperous and whatnot. Okay, all the timelines already exist. You just need to learn how to align with it. So the timeline where you are, I don't know, married with 3 children, or where you are abundant, or where you have the job of your dreams, whatever, it already exists. So unfortunately, people, get programmed into the consumeristic society where they're like, oh, we need external things to be happy and people pleasing. And it kind of like takes away from the embodiment of the essence of the being anchored and the being present and the being in the now. So ideally, it doesn't really matter that there are 1,000,000 possible timelines. You just really want to be living in one, which is the one of your highest alignment.
Right.
That's where you want to be. Do you know what I mean? That's where you want to go as an individual. That's where we want to go as a planet. That's where we want to go on a collective level. So only if you're grounded and embodied and present in the moment, then when you have to make a decision, you can see all the options and possible timelines and make a choice that is for your highest alignment. So how do you get there? You stay in your truth. You speak your truth. You make sure your thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. You say something, you do it. You work from the heart center. You stay in a space of compassion. You follow kind of like that passion, that creativity, that drive, whatever that may be. If it's pottery, go and make pots. You know what I mean? If it's cutting people's hair and that's what makes you happy, do that. It's not that when we access fifth dimensional density, vibrational frequency, it's not like everyone who is there is going to be an energy healer and we all need to be energy healers. No, you can be living a perfectly normal life in a 3D job and be living in fifth dimensional density if you are living in happiness, in joy, in gratitude, in compassion. So that's kind of like the shift in where we're going. It's not like everyone is going to become a master manipulator of energy. A lot of people are already living in that and they're just not aware of it.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. Very well said. Appreciate it. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was awakening and people just getting started in their awakening. What sort of recommendations would you have? Like you were just speaking about integrity and living from the heart. Are there other aspects of thoughts, words, actions, or just state of being that could help somebody move through an awakening?
Yeah, I think understand that the only constant is change. And even if you feel like you're moving backwards, you're not, you're going forwards. Again, healing is non-linear. So you're going to do like this, then you're going to do like this, then you're going to do like this, then you're going to do like this. So measure your progress based on like looking back 3-4 months. How did I react then? How am I reacting now? Last year, where was I? Where am I this year? Don't measure it on a weekly basis because or else you're going to be like, okay, well, look back and measure it on a span of like 6 months, even like 4 months or a year, and then be like, oh, actually, like, last year I would have gotten triggered by my parents saying this. This year, I'm actually taking it from a space of compassion. And at Christmas dinner, I'm not going to get angry with them, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So that's really, really important. And again, as I mentioned earlier, making sure your thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. Speaking from the heart, but speaking your truth. Other people's reactions to your truth is not your responsibility. You cannot control other people's emotions. You can only control your own. Your reactions, your emotions, your truth and what you speak. And if you speak from the heart and you speak from compassion and whoever is receiving on the other side gets upset and they start saying to you, oh, you've made me upset. Oh, you've made me angry. No, you haven't made them anything. They're making themselves upset. So it's really important because we get brought up with this structure and programming of people pleasing and, not answering and back and not saying, no, you don't have to be rude. You can speak from compassion, but your boundaries need to be formed. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love. Empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. So you don't be like, oh, I want to heal everyone. You can't heal everyone if your cup is empty. Right. You need to come first. So put yourself first. I promise you, if you're moving through difficult, it's going to get better. It's going to get easier. Sometimes it feels like everything is collapsing and falling apart. See the universe as things are happening for you and not to you, and also understand there is no wrongs ever. There is only lessons. When you start your day in a space of gratitude, nothing can really go wrong. So working with the emotion of gratitude will help you attract everything it is that you want to have in life.
That's beautiful. And as people are moving through their awakening in that way and embodying some of these recommendations, I think a lot of people do start to take in a natural upgrade in just integrity and the way that they perceive their connection to others and the importance of their actions. As that starts to begin to happen for them, one of the things that I've witnessed for a lot of people is that have a craving for figuring out what they're supposed to do. What's that next step now that they're starting to shed what was and the old story that they were living for a long time, the box that they were put in, and connecting to that divine mission, that life purpose that they know is for them to carry out from that point forward. Do you have any recommendations on how someone could even begin to look for that or start to find what that might be?
Yeah, so find something you're good at, find something you love doing, find something that can help on a collective level, find something that you can make an income from. If it fits those four things, then that's the direction you want to go down.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's great. So how do people get more knowledge from you? I know you've got different classes. I know you have various retreats, online retreats. Sometimes they're one-day offerings. Sometimes they're multi-day retreats and different things like that. What can someone do to get more of your knowledge and your information and your expertise?
So I have a lot of different services that I offer on my website. I'm currently hosting a mentorship in August, which is for anyone who wants to start or already has a spiritual business and wants to anchor into like abundance, understanding, how the manifestation works, the abundance, client relations, the energetics behind social media and all of that. Then I've got a day live retreat. It's a Saturday. We're going to learn how to move energy around the body. There'll be like a sound healing and light language clearing as well. And also in the abundance mentorship, there's always light language clearing. And everything that I offer, there's always some light language clearing. So whatever you get, you're going to get some energy work done. I offer 6-week and 6-month mentorship programs where I train light workers. So I train you to become an energy worker. You will then be certified and be able to actually, assist people and help them and heal and whatnot. So I do that as well. And then I have one-off sessions. I do Akasha clearing, past life clearings, a light language sessions. I also do standard coaching as well, where I help people who are moving through things, opening their psychic gifts and intuition. And then I've got a lot of workshops up. I've got a workshop on how to release attachment, on psychic attacks, how to understand them. I've got an ebook on energy cords on my website as well. So there's quite a few different offerings. I will be in winter, I will be holding workshops in Milano and in Paris in person. So those will be, I think Milano is the end of November and Paris also either end of November, beginning of December. I'm not too sure. And then I will also be speaking and I will be holding an in-person live workshop in Los Angeles next year in February and in New York as well. So that's where you can find me if you want to find me like in person. But mainly I work online. And yeah, and then I might be doing some work in Cape Town. I don't know. Let's see. I just recently did a workshop in Cape Town in April. So that's where you can find me. I do release a lot of free content as well on my Instagram and on my YouTube. I have a monthly collective healing as well, which is if people can't, afford some of my services, then that's very cheap. It's like $12, 45 minutes of channeled light language, and it really helps with clearing the system. So that's kind of like an option that I have accessible to everyone. But I do really release a lot of free content. So even if you don't want to commit to like a one-on-one session, you can just follow me on my Instagram or on my YouTube. And then, and you'll still get the benefit because I do a lot of light language clearings. Like I probably do about like a live a week where I just hop on and clear people.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so I've also got a masterclass on channeling that I run every like 3 months or so. I only take 12 people for that because I create an exclusive container and I want to be able to interact and I want people to be able to ask me questions. So that I've got coming up. And then with my mentorship program, I'm also only taking 10 people because I want to create a container where I can connect and communicate and speak to people. So I do have some workshops that are close numbered. And then obviously like all my one-on-one sessions that are available, those can be booked through as well. My 6-week program, 6-month program, that is one-to-one work with me the whole time. And it's a lot of energy clearing. One more, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I also offer specifically personalized light language codes that I do for people. And that's kind of like it's like graphic art, and those can be specifically attuned to a person's vibrational frequency. They can assist in clearing chakras or blockages or things like that. And then I've got a service where I channel a recording of Atlantean and Lemurian light language codes for the client. Again, specifically, they can set an intention and be like, I would like, to open my heart more, or to align with a better job, or whatever it is. And then I'll do that for you. And then I'll send it through in a recording. So that's kind of like my remote session. So I've got remote sessions, then I've got in-person sessions, then I've got these group and Zoom sessions that I do as well. Everything that I offer on my website is channeled. It's not me making up services and waking up in the morning and saying, oh, I want to do this. Everything gets sent to me. It's all channeled programs and channeled information that is what is needed at that moment in time for the collective. So not all my services are always available. Some of them come and go. Some of them, it's only a once off and things like that.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. That's fantastic. And so you had mentioned that you may be open to doing a transmission today. Is there something that feels like it's willing to come through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll open chat. Okay, so you can start by closing your eyes and finding a comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. With every exhale, you release all that no longer serves you. And as you relax your body, relax your system, relax your energy field. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. We call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good. You're welcome in the space. Nraya te roa rai na te rai shera tie to kora yesera tie takra na te rai shera takra yut kumrai sia. Opening systems, opening, calling in divine rays, anchoring structures into blueprint, more light, anchoring, expanding structures, activating, more light, more rays, anchoring, Tain Maria Ishiro Tokura Tria Sierra Tracking, releasing, letting go, old structures, old energies, letting go of what doesn't serve you anymore. We release, we let go, we open to more light, divine rays, anchoring, violet rays coming in, pushing through, pushing out, pushing out, all that no longer serves you, more light, anchoring, ratia siratia te kira ishirataka taina te to ratria si sorokuro ishena ya te ari te kora ishirayati ashirati takria siratakrato kuma ishirataka naya triatera correct korotria si saratia expanding into more light, divine rays coming in, anchoring golden rays or rays, rainbow rays into the heart as we expand, open, let go of fear, let go of judgment, let go. Yut kura si saraye to kuro ishinataka, taya tria kiro nutro ishira sira codes of trust, codes of love, anchoring codes of knowledge, understanding of self, expansion of systems, nervous system activation, opening, more light, attuning the spinal column, na reasia tuku areaishe ate ka riate saro ora isenataka taima reate ka rieto rotriesi sare tuning Attuning, releasing blockages from throat, opening, pulling in blue rays, anchoring, more light, opening. Taya tera isha ya tiro kua ishena taka kria treokuro kria te kara isera te kiera taka rea te kar uisana taka mia nare are oshira taka ra isera as we open to compassion, to understanding, more understanding of self, more codes, anchoring, more light, more rays, coming in, anchoring, attuning, activating systems. Okay, I'm gonna put some shielding on, activating iron armor. I am presence, activating violet flame, coming in, anchoring, expanding, assisting, balancing structures, balancing. Attuning, releasing, pulling up from the crown, cleaning, releasing, letting go. Yetokura tras, yesara ishirataka, daishin otokua ishirataka. Grounding, anchoring, kiro tokuro ishirataka. Dakriya sirataka. Okay, ishirotoko inchana ishinataka irata kriate osurukuru ishinataka. Triate kumrata riasisara ishirataka. Araisiataka anitaka. Taishirotoko ishirataka. So you ground back into the body, anchor back into the physical vessel, anchor back into the now, into the moment. And whenever we feel ready, we can open our eyes.
Wow.
How are you feeling?
That's pretty cool. That's, wow. Especially with the headphones on, moving through. Yeah. I've watched it before. I've never really experienced it like that before. How does it feel for you to go through that process?
Oh, I love it. I could do this all day.
Really? I would
I do this all day.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Wow.
Definitely, like, it's interesting because everyone says that it's different when you receive it live than when you receive it on a recording. It was funny. I had a friend of mine in the house a few weeks ago, and I was on a live on Instagram, and she never received it. It was dragon codes that were coming through, so it was very powerful, very strong. And she was in like 2 rooms down in the house, and she was like, I was still receiving it from all the way there. But it's for me, as I clear and heal others, I clear and heal myself as well. So I always also benefit from the codes and from the clearing, for sure.
Wow.
It gives me a lot of energy. I generally, when I clear quite late, like, it takes me a little bit to kind of like calm down and then get to be able to sleep. Like, I couldn't go to sleep now. It's almost like an energetic high, I guess, is the best way you can describe it. I do feel a lot of movement within my system. Sometimes when I'm clearing collectively, I'll feel like I'll have to pull out whole like things from my belly or like from my side and things like that. So sometimes I'll feel pain for others as I clear it, or sadness. Sometimes I'll cry when I'm clearing for someone. Sometimes I'll like be coughing and burping and gagging quite a lot. Like, it's all a release of energy. So it really just depends. Yeah. But
Interesting.
This is a good clear.
Good. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I felt some shifts for sure. Definitely, even in the heart area and in the throat area. And yeah, it's interesting. I appreciate it. there's always so much excitement for probably whoever's going to be working with you for a podcast or whatever as it builds up and then goes by so quick. I was like, oh, did I get everything? And then it's like off, and then I'll watch you again from the social media world. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just set out the intention. So
yeah.
If it happens, great. If not,
it's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I guess thank you. And yeah, we'll chat soon. Okay.
Sounds great. Have a good one.